It's time to check in. I'm Tony.
I'm Vivi.
We are now on our last leg of the trip. As of that moment, we were 2 weeks into our trip. I was getting a little fatigued. I was a little bit homesick, but we're going to a place where I consider this my own home court.
Where you led the itinerary.
Yeah, which got me actually pretty nervous because I'm usually the one following and coming along for the ride, and now I have to lead the whole party. I was like, oh gosh. Why is her itinerary and action items that she wants to do so long? Oh boy, stress. Ah!
Our last leg was in Japan, in the Tokyo area.
For context, we have actually been to Japan before, separately. I've been to Tokyo 2 times, given I have explored Tokyo more than Vivi. The fact that she's been taking me around for the past 3 locations, it's my turn to return the favor and do something for once.
I had been to Tokyo once before, but only for a few days. So I was definitely looking forward to this leg of the trip because I don't have to think. Well, except for, telling you where I wanted to go, and then you had to plan that part of it.
So where did you want to go?
I really wanted to see Mount Fuji.
Just Mount Fuji?
Well, I wanted to eat, of course. That was the main part. But I didn't need to see the touristy areas anymore because I had already done it the first time around. So I wanted to see other things.
That's actually very cliche. I'm going to Japan. I want to see Mount Fuji. But in the whole context of things, we are going to Japan in early June. The weather might not be as favorable. Japan summers are something else. I looked at the forecast. What are the odds of one seeing Mount Fuji in June? The odds are about 50-50. That is a tough ask. The last time I went to Japan, I also went on a tour to try to see Mount Fuji. We just saw a white screen of clouds.
And that time that you went was actually a good time to go to see Mount Fuji, right?
Correct. It was November.
So this time around, Tony told me, don't get your hopes up. You likely won't see it. For some reason inside of me, I just felt like I'm just that lucky. Even though this whole trip doesn't really say lucky all over it, but for some reason, when we were planning it and booking it, I was thinking, yeah, I think I'm going to see it.
All right, bet.
To see how lucky I really was?
Exactly.
Keep listening to see if we really did get lucky. But one of the places that I was interested in going to see Mount Fuji, even though it's not like the closest view, was Hakone. It was close enough to Tokyo area. You also get to experience hot springs there, which I've never done before.
So cliche. Hot springs and Mount Fuji. Wow. It's okay. I've never done it before neither, so let's try to pull this one off.
You've done hot springs before.
Separately, but not together. You could imagine the view and then you just boiling yourself at the same time. I guess it's similar to the MBS Infinity Pool and looking at a grand view of Singapore. Just a little bit different. More relaxing and naturey vibe.
I guess you could say there's a theme here. I like to sit in pools of water and look at views. But hey, I think that that's one of the most relaxing things to do is to have a grand view, but yet you're just kind of sitting there.
Rejuvenating yourself.
Just relaxing and not thinking.
All right, so we arrived at Haneda Airport.
At night, because we already knew after we get up in the morning, we're going to go straight to Hakone. And we had luggage, right? So one of my friends recommended that, hey, why don't you go and ship your luggage? And I'm like, wait, ship it to where? To Hakone? And they're like, no, since you'll be back in Tokyo a day later, why don't you ship it to the hotel? And that is actually one of the reasons why we decided to book a hotel too, is so that we can have the luggage stored there. And my friend said, they're totally fine. Even if you're not arriving the same day, they're going to help you take care of your luggage. I'm like, oh, that is a game changer because then we wouldn't have to lug everything to Hakone.
Thank the Lord. She finally is going to travel light for the first time.
I still had a duffel bag that you carried.
But at least it was just a duffel bag and not a full-size check-in suitcase now.
Yeah, I can't imagine actually rolling my suitcase around Hakone area because it is a smaller town. It's less convenient in terms of transportation. And there was no luggage storage.
Best they got is small lockers at the train station. But that's not going to fit all your check-in luggage. So we opted for the shipping method. And we just carried about a day or two's worth of clothing and necessities.
Man, when I was packing my duffel bag, I was like, okay, what exactly do I need? Not necessarily want. So I think I traveled the lightest ever. The next morning, we were up early.
Again.
What do you mean again? It wasn't that early. But we were going to head into Hakone, and we had booked a train ticket to depart around 10 o'clock.
So this was what I loathed the most in the trip.
You kept trying to mentally prepare me too.
I've been trying to gaslight you the whole time saying Japan is going to be hot ass weather. We're going to get lost in train stations and curb your enthusiasm. I don't know where everything is at. So where we ride the train to Hakone, we have to transfer from wherever we're staying in Tokyo to Shinjuku Station to catch their Odo water train. When I heard that, I was thinking, is there a different train station I could ride? According to the website, no. I was like, all right.
I didn't really understand why you were dreading the Shinjuku station. Not that I have a lot of experience, but I was like, what's wrong with it? It's a train station like every other train station, right?
It is every other train station, but more. Legend has it, this is one of the biggest train stations in the world. Trying to get around a big train station is not the easiest thing in the world. Like, okay, locally we have maybe like a BART or cow train. You have a place where you pay for your ticket and you walk to the platform, hop on, easy peasy. But when we talk about Shinjuku Station, there's 5 train systems going to the exact same spot. They're just like, oh, we're in that corner of the train station. You got off on the north end of the train station. Please proceed to the southeast portion of the train station to get to where you need to get to. In between, everywhere is walled up to perform construction. So we're literally inside a labyrinth. You don't even know where you are.
You were already mentally preparing me that you would get lost. I was like, why can't we just ask people? That's what I would do. And that is what we did. We were able to get onto our train fine. We didn't really get lost.
We kind of had a 5 to 10 minute delay. I did all my homework possible just to get lost for 10 minutes. Imagine if I didn't do any homework. We might have missed the train.
And also, I highly recommended that we wake up a little earlier and not get to the train station like 10 minutes or 15 minutes before the train departs, because I was like, if you're already expecting to be lost, we better be there at least half an hour before. And that is exactly what we did. So I highly recommend for those that are using the different train systems in a big train station like Shinjuku, get there early, plan earlier. Don't end up missing your train because you didn't plan ahead.
Give yourself a buffer time.
Yeah, and then you do want to buy food because eating a bento on the train is another experience, especially when you're going to places like Hakone where there's going to be a view. I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to go and have this whole experience where I have a train bento looking out the window and eating and enjoying. And I was hungry. It was breakfast time. I allocated time to go buy food.
Now that you mentioned train bento, did that meet your expectation for how the food should taste?
Yeah, I mean, it was a really good bento. Let's not even talk about the stuff that we usually eat.
Yeah, come to think about it, it was pretty good for like a quick bite. But yes, let us proceed. We are now in Hakone.
I was a little bummed because we went outside and I saw that it was overcast skies. I was like, uh-oh.
What do you mean? Uh-oh, it's June. It's not even hot. The sun is not beaming on you. It's like weather jackpot in Japan in the summer.
Yes, so I did appreciate that because, you know, coming from Southeast Asia and being hot for almost 2 weeks, even though we had cooler weather in Taiwan, Tokyo and Hakone was even cooler than that. And I was really happy. I probably packed a little bit too light though, I feel, because I was like wearing shorts and it was kind of windy at some points. I did appreciate that the sun was not shining through, but then I also knew that if it wasn't, the likelihood of me seeing Mount Fuji is probably very low.
So you were already setting expectations low.
So I already expected probably I wouldn't see it, even though I had some weird confidence that, oh, maybe the skies will open up just for me, you know?
What a main character you are.
In my head.
So Hakone, from the train station, we hopped on a bus and we went to the first place where I have very little expectations for. We went to the open air museum.
I really didn't know what we were going to see there. I was like, okay, our first stop, a museum. I was thinking probably we're going to spend about an hour there.
To preface, we don't have great experience in museum. Don't take offense, but we're kind of ignorant when we go to museums. We behave like clowns. We're like, oh, nice picture. This is Jesus. And then we go 3 pictures down. This is the 14th portrait of Jesus. And we're like, oh, look, naked lady. Awesome. And then I just get a side glance like, can you believe this guy?
Well, I'm not very artistic myself. I don't really know my art, nor
And history.
Do you have to be so honest?
Well, the fun part about art is it invokes the feeling within you. So how it invokes the feeling within you as being an ignorant person hits different. It has its own version of its joy.
So now you see why Tony and I are together. We have this joy together of ignorance.
We clowns.
But yeah, our first stop was a museum. To my surprise, I didn't even know what kind of art would be exhibited there. But we went in and it was open air. At least we got some fresh air and we were able to walk around. I enjoyed the outside part of it. And then there were some exhibits that were inside where we can even take photos. And then I realized like, oh, it's actually a lot of Picasso.
I heard the name a lot, but I cannot equate that to a face or his work.
Me neither. That just shows what level of art that we have knowledge on. So we walked around. We actually ended up spending over 2 hours in this museum, even though we didn't really understand the art. They had some areas where you walk into like a tunnel underneath the ground, and that was apparently the art. I was kind of confused initially, and I was like, okay, I don't really understand this. And then we kept walking, and we walked into like these exhibit halls, and I was looking at the art. I was like, why is this all so sexual?
Picasso?
I didn't know.
I remember my remarks was like, this horny ass. A lot of his art was very sexual. Why is he so famous? I didn't understand. But did you understand?
I don't think I truly understood the art, but I found it pretty interesting. Like it was something different. It's not that I was going to joke or laugh about it. It was more, I enjoyed this museum because it wasn't very serious.
It's a very serious museum. What are you talking about? Why did you make it sound like it's a joke place? The museum was beautifully spaced out. Each exhibit have like a certain amount of space between it. So you look at one exhibit, you walk like 2-3 minutes, and then you see another exhibit, right? Imagine you going to an actual museum. Your visual overload is crazy. You see a vase here, tilt your head a little bit, and you see another exhibit item where there's a huge story and a backstory behind it. And you're like, whoa, by the 30th exhibit, you'll be, oh, I'm mentally exhausted. But for the open air museum, each exhibit is spaced out and you're able to breathe in fresh air and just look at some greenery here and there. It's more relaxing than I expected. Albeit, weather is great. Imagine if we go on a hot summer day. I think somebody is about to kill me.
Hands raised.
So there was a lot of interesting and different style of art in the Hakone Museum. There were exhibits that were interactive. Of course, there were certain exhibits that don't touch.
But the one area that I was absolutely surprised about was the children play area. When we had walked there, I think at that point, I didn't know how Picasso's art was like. And when we walked into the play area, I had seen all these balls hanging from the ceiling with like nets. You know exactly what I am talking about. And it was all over the place. And these kids were like riding it like Miley Cyrus on the wrecking ball. And I was looking at it in awe because I was like, what is this?
Was Miley Cyrus' song playing in your head?
It was. And I was really confused. They had the speaker announcing it in different languages. And when it finally got to English, it literally said like, adults are not allowed in the nets and are not allowed to sit on the balls. And I'm like, damn.
Did you have horny thoughts or what?
Well, I wasn't going to take a photo of me if I was allowed on the balls, but I was really surprised why this play area looked like that for innocent little children.
We're just old and perverted. Let's put it that way. Let's not cut into the child's innocence.
That's probably what Picasso was going for, though.
Yeah, touche. Ay, that guy.
So yeah, this open air museum definitely did bring a different vibe, especially one where I was not expecting because I was walking in not knowing what we were going to see. But it was definitely very nice and it was a relaxing experience and just kind of hilarious in some ways.
After the open air museum, we decided to walk to our next stop, which I had my reserves. We're going to a flower garden.
That is right up my alley.
But when I saw we need to walk up a slight hill to get there, I was like, oh, we're lugging our luggage and we need to walk up this hill. Great. We're going to be tired.
It was tiring, but I think it was worth it. And we had seen some locals walking around and they're like, you're almost there. They probably saw us out of air.
Coming from the person that didn't have to carry luggage.
I helped out. What are you talking about?
A little bit here and there, but on the way up, it was mainly me. You probably helped on the way down. The garden was actually very serene, to my absolute surprise. The roses were in bloom. Imagine going to a flower garden where all you see is rose stems and thorns. Oh, that would be a nightmare.
It was very, very grand looking. I've seen other rose gardens before, but this one was totally different. Probably because everything was in bloom and it was open really big. There's so many different color roses. Also different flowers as well. I want to take a photo of all of them.
But in the interest of making sure we meet our schedule and just be able to do all the activities in one day, I kind of just hurried you along until you saw ice cream.
On the side of the rose garden, there was this little stand that was selling soft serve rose ice cream. I got so excited, but I was very hesitant.
Wait, why are you excited? Have you tried eating roses before? Do you even know what roses taste like?
Yes, I have not started chewing on rose petals before, but you kind of get that distinct flavor. It's floral and it smells like a rose. But yes, they started making ice cream from it and they're in a rose garden, so it makes sense to me. I was afraid I was going to get a stomach ache because I'm not lactose intolerant, but depending on how my stomach is that day or what it's mixed with, I don't know. I might get the runs. And I was like thinking, it's midday. We're not even done with our activities. And while you're traveling, that's like a nightmare. Even though I know in a lot of languages how I can say, excuse me, where's the bathroom? But sometimes there's not an actual bathroom near here.
How do you say it in Japanese? Off the top of your head. Let's go.
Toilet wa doko desu ka?
Oh, you did it. You passed. Nice. Good job. You can now eat ice cream.
There's not always a bathroom near you. So what was I going to do? Eat this and shit your pants and be happy, or you can skip it.
You decide to go take the risk.
Yeah, so I ate the rose ice cream expecting potential disaster, especially given our luck on this trip. But after eating it, a few hours had passed and I was fine. And I was so happy because I was like, oh my goodness, I can eat
Japanese soft serve.
and milk products.
But how was the flavor of the rose ice cream?
It was refreshing. Tasted like rose extract. The taste of the milk was the difference though. I would say milk products in Japan are a must try. Even if you're lactose, I feel like it's worth it.
Don't try to sell people with lactose intolerance to go try taking milk products in Japan. It might be dangerous. So eat at your own discretion, honestly.
But for me, it was worth it. Worth the risk of ruining my underwear. But that's why I also pack extra underwear just in case, which you never understand.
Yeah, once you got your ice cream, or the first of many ice creams, tour guide Tony is like, all right, time to move. We got to hit the tram. Let's go.
We were going to go up into the mountain to see Hell Valley.
But we hopped on the tram. We rode a tram that has one job, traveling diagonally up the hill. It was actually really cool. Get to the top, and we get off and we hop onto a gondola.
I was just happy that I didn't have to walk up there at that point. I was really excited for the gondola ride. We got up there, started riding, and then we saw Hell Valley as we were about to stop. And oh, that smell.
So what is Hell Valley? You've been mentioning Hell Valley a lot.
It's pretty much where you could smell a lot of sulfur, and that's where your hot spring water is from.
The tram ride dropped us off at the top of the hill where it just smelled like sulfur. You could see sulfur coming out of the ground and it's just contaminated yellow.
And it smells like fart.
Why are you smiling right now, saying that it smells like fart?
Because I feel like almost on all the episodes of our podcast, we've been saying things smell like fart or garbage or something. So now finally, this really does smell like fart. It's the smell of sulfur. It stinks. But I was happy because I knew that I would be able to get the hot spring experience. And also, we were up there because we also wanted to try the black sulfur.
Everything.
The famous thing was the black egg.
It kind of looked like charcoal.
It was an egg with a black shell, and inside was hard boiled.
But legend have it, if you eat one of these black eggs, your longevity increases by 10 years. So greedy as we are, we each got an egg.
Tony wanted to share. I'm like, no, we need 10 years each. I don't need no 5 years. We need to live long and prosper to keep annoying each other.
So yeah, we each got an egg. It just tastes like a hard-boiled egg. It didn't have no pungent smell to it or anything. It tastes exactly like a hard-boiled egg.
Yeah, there was really not much different about it except for the shell that was black.
Speaking of black, everything that was sold at this attraction was black. Black curry, black egg, black ice cream.
Which I was super excited about. I told Tony, hey, let's go and get some black ice cream.
I was still worried that rose ice cream might be causing damage soon, and you wanted black ice cream? So you want to assure that we're going to have complications now, huh?
At that point, I was like, I don't think that that's going to happen. Let's just try it. And so I ate my second ice cream for the day. It was fine. You know, everything already smelled like sulfur. No one would know I pooped my pants.
Except me.
But I must say, when I saw black curry, I was kind of confused what that was. It was definitely darker than your regular curry, and they had like a black curry bun. So we did try that, and it was actually really flavorful. They use like ground meats as the base of their curry. That was the best Japanese curry that I had. Even though we couldn't bring any home because of the meat base, that was delicious. I regret only buying one bun for the both of us.
Vivi doesn't want to share. But at this very moment, tour guide Tony is back. And we're like, oh shoot, we're a little too immersed in this attraction. We better hustle along just in case we don't want to miss the last rides on the subsequent stuff. So I'm like, all right, come on, hurry up. Let's get back onto the gondola and we're going to continue our journey and move along towards the lake, Lake Ashi. And we pretty much ran to hop on the gondola and we just continued our ride down.
It was a beautiful view. I was really excited. I was sitting in front of the gondola just watching us go down the mountain.
You were fighting kids to sit in front to watch the view.
I'm a kid at heart.
Horrible. Ladies and gentlemen, she's going to be the one to box out the kid to get the view instead of letting your kid enjoy it.
Ain't my kid.
Can you guys hear my head shaking?
When we finally got down there, I was starting to get worried if we were going to make it on the pirate ship. Because even though Tony was the one that was planning the trip, I don't think you had realized the schedule for like the last ship. So by the time we got off of the gondola, we ran to the gates. The one that we needed to ride to get to our stay had already passed. We had to ride the other one that was a little bit further away, but at least we still made it.
To give everyone some context, this pirate ship attraction is not the most important thing to us in terms of an experience. But the importance of this ship is it is the ferry that will take us to our stay. If we miss this last boat, we would need some serious consideration onto how we are going to make it to our stay. And we were on the last boat schedule. We rushed our asses to the ports.
The pirate ship was definitely different. It looked like something out of an anime. And I guess for those that like the One Piece anime, they're like, oh yeah, this is definitely the ship that I need to ride.
The boat itself was very beautiful and it's nicely decorated. You could take some nice photos on the boat and the views of the lake is amazing.
I think the highlight of the entire ride though was when we got 3/4 of the way to our stop, Tony was like, look behind you. And then I turned around and I saw, oh my God, it's Mount Fuji. Except it was only a partial view because there's other mountains and obstructions that was covering part of it.
Little did you know when we were riding the pirate ship, I was actually glancing in that general direction to see if Mount Fuji was visible the whole time.
I was looking ahead and looking at the view, enjoying it, and just taking in the breeze. And when I saw partial Mount Fuji, I was super excited. Even though it was really hazy, you couldn't see it very clearly. But I was already like, win. See, I told you the skies would let me see it.
I think if we arrived any earlier, we probably would have not seen Mount Fuji. But because we're on the last ride, it was getting late in the day and it was starting to cool down. We lucked out.
Yeah, so then I turned around and started taking tons of photos of Mount Fuji. And I was like so excited. When we got off the pirate ship, we were supposed to go to the bus stop to ride to our stay location. And I was like, wait, let me just finish taking photos. Tony was like, you could take photos of it later.
Hello, time's not waiting for us. Let's get a move on. You took 50 photos already. We don't need another 50.
But then I was like, okay, just a few more photos. Because seeing Mount Fuji was rare, I was afraid if I turn around and think, oh, I'll take photos later, it'll disappear. But what I didn't realize was when we got to our stay, we actually had front row seats to Mount Fuji and it was unobstructed. I was like, darn, I wasted so much time on the pier trying to take photos of this.
Correction, it was the best view you could have of Mount Fuji at Lake Ashi.
Yeah, we were right in front of the lake. You get a view of the shrine that's really famous.
The Hakone Shrine's Torii Gates.
And you also get the view of Mount Fuji. At the time that we arrived at our stay, though, it was still very hazy. You couldn't see it as clearly, but you could still get it in photos, just a little bit lighter. So I obviously was like standing in front of the stay's balcony and asking Tony to take a lot of photos. I was also telling him to take photos. I was just super excited.
To remind you, your energy levels was actually running low when you were on the pirate ship. But once you saw Mount Fuji, your energy level just shot back up to the roof and you're fully recharged, kept taking photos. I was like, where did you get this second wind from?
Because I saw something that I went there to see, and it was just really exciting. And our stay was breathtaking. It was a lot bigger than I expected. It was technically a stay for 4 people. The living room area had the view. It had a balcony. It had a private onsen in the bathroom where you could also open the window to see Mount Fuji. And also on the balcony, there was foot bath. I was absolutely surprised. And I could also hear people next door barbecuing and enjoying like a party. I feel like the stay, which is the Rakuten Stay Fujimi Terrace, is great for if you're traveling in a group. It wasn't super cheap, but I feel with the privacy and also the beautiful grand view, it was worth it.
Was it worth it enough for you to keep taking pictures and eventually miss dinner? Because by the time we went out to eat dinner, all the dinner spots turned us away.
I was like so surprised because it was only about 7:30 p.m.
There we learned that there is such a thing called what time the restaurant would close and what time is their last call for orders for the night.
So don't trust Google because Google was telling us that places were closing at 9 p.m. It wasn't even 8 p.m. at that point. I'm not sure if it's because we went on a weekday, there was less people and they just closed early, but Google had it wrong. We could not go and have a regular dinner. And guess what? We ended up eating convenience store food. And at that point, because we also had arrived into Haneda the night before at an hour where we couldn't easily get dinner food, we also had convenience store food. So for the first 24 hours that we were in Japan, I literally was only eating bento boxes from convenience stores or the train station. I was like, oh my goodness, is this how our first meals are?
Unfortunately, it is the case. I was very bummed about that aspect.
I'm sorry.
But don't get us wrong. Convenience store food in Japan is not your average 7-Eleven in America where you get nasty hot dogs and slushies. But the food quality is really solid and the variety is huge. So if that's what you're resorted to, maybe like 24-hour cycle, you survive. The food is good. Fried chicken there is good too, by the way.
Yeah, and there was more ice cream.
Ugh, more ice cream?
Yeah, at that point, it was nighttime and 5 hours had passed since I ate like the first rose ice cream. I was like, okay, I definitely can do ice cream here. So I went to buy another ice cream. I had 3 ice creams in a day.
Not only is the sugar level over the roof,
Maybe explains why my energy was up.
you were literally gambling with diarrhea.
And I won.
Oh,
Like, why can't we have this food in America?
one can only dream. No one ever goes to 7-Eleven thinking, oh, I want a good corn dog, ever. It's just, we're there, stop by, pick up when we need to go, get out.
It is very convenient to go and grab food and then also go back to our stay because, you know, we paid money to experience our stay. So going back and being able to enjoy it and just lounge around because we were also tired. And then finally being able to use the private onsen, I was so happy. My first time in an onsen and I truly enjoyed it.
This is not my first onsen, but this is my first private onsen. It felt very relaxing, having a view, privacy, serene sensation. It was rejuvenating. Remember I said it's been 2 weeks into our trip. We were tired. Oh, the energy levels are coming right back up after that hot spring.
I came out kind of wrinkly and just super dry. So if you ever go to a hot spring, make sure that you have lotion because I've never felt that dry ever in my life. Did you think it was worth it, Tony?
Oh, it was worth it. Let me share a story of why it was worth it. It is early in the morning the next day. I woke up around like 5 a.m. Because we've been just getting up early in the morning, it became a habit. I went to the terrace and looked out the window. I saw something. I ran back into the room and said, Vivi, wake up. You need to see something.
I tried to ignore you because I was pretty tired.
I was like, you don't want to miss this. You know what it is.
And man, I was like resurrected. I just like shot up and then I was like, what? You see Mount Fuji?
This is not any Mount Fuji. This is a very clear shot of Mount Fuji with no haze. And the sun is already beaming through.
I pretty much shot up, got ready, got changed because I didn't want to go take photos in my PJs, ran out to the terrace and I was like, oh my gosh, it was front row views. Lake Ashi was beautiful. Birds were chirping. There was no clouds at all. It was exactly what I was hoping for.
Waking up at 5 a.m. Worth it.
It was definitely worth it. We took a million photos and then I start realizing, oh my God, I was so stupid to keep taking photos last night and miss dinner. I was so apologetic to Tony.
So I understand why it's true. You could not see it in the summer. In the early mornings or late at night when temperatures come back down, the clouds would dissipate and the view of Mount Fuji would show up. If we were to just do a day trip and leave by the end of the night, maybe the photos you had of Mount Fuji was the ones on the pirate ship. But since we stayed overnight, you had an unobstructed grand view of it.
After taking all those photos, I ended up going back to sleep because I was tired. When I woke up, it was not even 9 a.m. yet, but you could see that the clouds were building. That's why they say that you need to go and wake up early or get there early in order to see it, because if you want a totally unobstructed view, it's really very early mornings that you would get that. Because once 9 to 9:30 a.m. rolled in, which usually you would think on a vacation that's already early enough, no, it's not. The clouds are building. By 10 a.m., Mount Fuji was gone.
And we have now debunked the myth of 50%. But for those who are planning to go to Japan, you may consider winter months, because winter months have a higher odd of seeing Mount Fuji, given it just stays cold throughout the day. So there's usually less cloud buildup.
But it's not 100% because you had went with your family in November and you didn't see anything.
But you give yourself better odds of getting a view of Mount Fuji.
I feel like luck was on my side for this leg of the trip. And I was like, thank goodness for this beautiful view and the good weather there. That stay was definitely worth it in my opinion. It was not cheap. It was about $400 a night. And there was also no staff that was working there. But I felt like the experience that we got out of it, it was probably the best stay on our whole honeymoon.
Agreed. And on this note, that was our Hakone trip.
The next episode will be our last episode of this honeymoon series. We'll be talking about Tokyo.
It's time to check out. I'm Tony.
I'm Vivi.
Catch you on the next one.
Bye.